Good day everyone, I'm the person in the contest. So today I will be presenting about population dynamics. So population dynamics is a study on how and why a population changes over time. And it's of a different factors like the mortality rate, the birth rate, and the population growth. So next we will be tackling about the what is the factors affecting the population growth. So this is the components of population growth. First is the natality or birth rate, mortality or death rate, migration or two different kind of migration. A migration which the population moves in a area, and immigration moves out in an area. So this is the formula on getting the growth rate of a population. So present minus past over past is equals the growth rate. So yan lang yung simple calculation of growth rate. O, example is 310 minus 105 divide 205 is equal to 51.51% ang growth rate. Next, there are two types of population growth. First is exponential growth and logistic growth. So let's tackle first the exponential growth. Exponential growth, also known as the G growth, it is a population growth which the population increases constantly, and affecting nito kapag unlimited yung sources ng population like the foods and walang predators. Kaya as you can see, yung kanyang growing is pataas lang, so hindi siya nag-stop pag increase kasi nga wala siyang mga carrying capacity na nag-gather sa kanya. So next, let's talk about the logistic growth. So it is also known as the S growth. As you can see, yung kanyang line is pa S, kaya nag-S siya. So kita naman, as you can see sa first, nag-increase siya ng rapidly din, but hindi ito, nag-stop na siya kasi nga meron ng carrying capacity. So, mamaya matatanggal natin yung carrying capacity kung ano pa yun siya. So, next. So, ito yung carrying capacity. So, yung carrying capacity, ito na yung parang, ito yung nasusupport sa isang population. Kunwari, ito, yung pangkatao is iba nakadepende sa mga food and water. Kung walang water and food, mamamatay tayo. Siyempre yung mga need ng katawan natin, food and water. So yun ang example ng carrying capacity. So ito yung mga different kinds of carrying capacity. First, as I said earlier, food and water availability, space, environmental condition. Next. So these are the factors affecting population dynamics. So first we have the biotic factors, and to be followed by the abiotic factors. First, abiotic factors, predation. So yung mga predators which can affect the population growth of an population. Next is the disease. And next, the competition. So sa competition naman, let's say sa isang environment, kunwari dalawang predator is nag-aagawan sa territory nila. So possible na maapektuhan yung kanilang population growth kasi nga nag-aagawan sila sa kanilang territory, or in simple word, may competition sila ng nagagawa. Next is, abiotic factors. First is climate and natural disaster. So, kapag sa isang environment is, kapag, let's say, yung mga penguin, kapag may factor dyan, kapag masyadong mainit, diba yung natural environment ng mga penguins are malamig. So kapag yung kanilang environment is mainit, so possible na maapektuhan din yung kanilang population growth, possible na mamatay, and magkaroon ng disease yun. Next is yung availability of resources. So since nga, let's say example natin yung penguin, so kapag yung penguins kapag sa isang area is mula sila mga like foods, waters, ganon. So possible na maapektuhan yung kanilang population growth since ngayon yung nagiging supply ng kanilang for nutrition and overall well-being. And lastly is the environmental changes. So since nga, di ba yung climate change is nag-cause din siya ng environmental changes, yung dating Atlantic is malamig, ngayon is sobrang init at natutunaw na yung mga ice. So factor rin siya kung bakit nawawala na yung mga or naglalasan na yung mga population of katulad sa penguins, mga normal na mga animal doon sa Atlantic. So na-force din sila mag-move out or mag-migrate to different kinds na kung saan suitable yung kanilang sarili sa isang environment ngayon. So, next is population structures. So ito yung mga components na population structure. First is age, yung young, adult, dito sa mga human, sex ratio, male to female ratio. Next is dependency ratio, productive versus dependent population. So these are the types of population distribution. So may tatlo, may clump, may random, may uniform. So sa clump, yung organism ay nag-cluster sila together. So nag-clump sila based sa kanilang resources. So let's say sa example, yung mga rabbits, nag-clump sila sa isang area na to kasi nga maraming foods. Tapos yung isang rabbit naman is nag-clump sila sa isang area na to kasi nga marami ring food. So nakadepende lang yan sa environment kung meron silang mapoprovide na resources. Next naman is random. So yung mga organism is hindi sila ma-predict, katulad na lang yung mga predators like lions, mga tigers. So hindi sila makikita sa isang area lang. So kasi nga yung kanilang source of food is pakalat-kalat. So minsan nasa distant place sila or hindi lang. So nakadepende rin sa kanilang resources. Next naman is uniform. So, organisms are in space, area. So, ito yung mga organism na to is yung mga yung kanilang sources is isa lang. Katulad sa desert. Siyempre, di ba sa desert, like sa yung mga sandy desert. So, since nga low yung kanilang source of water doon, so mas maraming organism ang possible mong makita doon sa may water or sa mga river gano'n. Kaya nagkakaroon ng uniform doon. So, as you can see, this is the demographic transition model. So, yung model na to, it is a model that it shows how a country changes in time. It depends on the birth rate, death rate, and the natural possible cause of population changes. First sa stage 1, mataas yung birth rate, mataas din yung high rate, so possible na kanilang population growth is ma-maintain lang kasi nga balance, mataas yung pagkamatay, mataas din yung nanganganak, so balance lang. Stage 2 naman, high ang birth rate, tapos yung death rate naman is falls rapidly. So yung population is mas rapidly dumadami kasi nga mas maraming nanganganak kaysa sa namamatay. Next naman is stage 3. Birth rate is falling. Death rate is falls more slowly. So possible na mabalance na din to, and may possibility rin na mag-shrink yung population kasi nga konti lang yung nanganganak and marami yung namamatay. Next naman sa stage 4, low ang birth rate, low din ang death rate. So balance na rin siya. Next naman is birth rate is halos walang nanganganak and low din yung death rate. So possible sa stage 5, ang population growth is mag-shrink yung population and possible na magkaroon ng population crisis kasi nga konti lang din yung napoproduce ng mga organism and mas marami yung namamatay. So next, human impacts on population. So ito yung mga gawain ng mga human na possible na maka-affect sa population. First yung urbanization. Since nga ito yung urbanization is kasama din yung pagpapalawak ng mga lupain para paggawa ng mga industrial works, gano'n. So, possible na yung mga natural na nakatira doon, like mga birds, mga animals na nakatira doon is ma-disturb and mawala yung kanilang natural home. And also dito yung mga trees na nakakatulong sa ng carbon dioxide, mag-regulate nun. So, yun. Next is yung industrialization. So ito na nga, as I said earlier, yung pagkakaroon ng maraming industries. Since helpful naman to siya para sa mga human, pero mas more on human siya. Sa mga animals is hindi sila napapadring kasi nga nakafocus sa mga human needs rather than sa mga other organisms. Next naman is medical advancement. Sunod is environmental degradation, yung pagsira ng mga protected environmental areas. Education and employment. So, dahil sa paggawa ng mga humans na yon, ito yung mga consequences ng pagtaas ng population growth. First, food scarcity, yung pagkakulang sa food, sa resources. Next is increased pollution. Di ba sa mga urban areas katulad sa Manila, marami dong pollution na nangyayari katulad sa river nila, sa Pasig River, malinis naman yun. Next is yung poverty and employment. So yung poverty, since di ba pag marami kayong anak sa pamilya nyo, less yung chance mo na makapag-aral, and nag-lead din siya sa unemployment. Next is health problems and spread of disease. So kapag increase yung population, may high chance ka rin na magkaroon ng health problems kasi nga polluted yung environment mo and factor din siya kaya nagkakaroon ng health problems and spread of disease. Next is overuse of natural resources. So, paano gagawin natin makakontrol ang populasyon? So these are the control measures of population. So first, family planning programs. So ito yung mga students ang papasok, so mag-educate sa mga mothers or families about sa contraceptives, family planning, and proper teaching of about reproductive health, ganun. And health education nga, as I said earlier, i-teach yung mga sa community, sa population, about reproductive health, family planning, yun, para ma-address din sa kanila bakit nga ba malaki yung population ng isang community. Next is women empowerment, government policies, access to healthcare, and contraception. So this is the overall summary and conclusion. Summary: population dynamics is influenced by birth, deaths, and migration. Carrying capacity and environmental limits control population growth. Human action significantly modify population trends. Sustainable planning is necessary for future stability. So, the overall conclusion. Population dynamics help us predict challenges and plan for economic, environmental, and health needs. So, to manage our future, we must understand our numbers.
Good day, sir. So today I will be reporting about carrying capacity and human populations, how many can Earth sustain. So first, the Anthropocene humans anthropocene impact. Ano yung mga factors or yung mga factors na nakaka-affect sa human capacity? First is nearing 8 billion. The human population is rapidly approaching 8 billion and it is projected to be 9.5 by the year 2050. Next is exceeding Earth's biocapacity. Our current ecological footprint demands 1.75 Earths, escalating to 3 Earths by the year 2050 if current trends continue. So yung capacity ng Earth ngayon, yung kaya nilang i-provide sa atin is yung demand natin is pang 1.75 Earths na siya. And if mag-continue yung ganitong kaso ng demand natin, magiging 3 Earths na siya by 2050. And driving environmental crisis, population growth and consumption patterns fuel climate change. So yun nga, dahil sa pagdami ng population and yung ang consumption ng mga tao, isa siya sa mga nagiging fuel for climate change, biodiversity loss, and resource depletion. So what is carrying capacity? So carrying capacity is the maximum population and environmental support indefinitely without any degradation. So for example, yung isang household, yung kaya nilang i-hold is 10 person each. So sa 10 person na yun, is hindi masisira yung bahay or hindi siya madidegrade. So yun yung tinatawag natin carrying capacity. So same as the earth, meron din siya ang carrying capacity. So while applicable to all species, calculating it for humans is complex due to our technological and social adaptations. It fundamentally depends on the availability of essential resources like food, water, habitat, and environment's ability to absorb waste. So also, ma-add ko lang, hindi lang naman human yung nag-consume ng mga resources sa Earth. So isa din siya sa mga marami ding mga hayop dito and iba pang species. So isa din siya na sa mga nakaka-add ng scarcity ng mga resources natin. Next po. So here, ito add lang siya sa report ko is the historical perspective from Malthus to modern science. So, in 1978, may Malthusian prediction tayo na tinatawag, which is created by Thomas Malthus. He writes that population growth would inevitably outstrip food supply leading to widespread famine. So, na-foresee niya na yun na kapag madami yung population ng tao, mag-lead ito sa famine, which is unti-unti na natin nakikita ngayon. But by the 20th century, it is temporary reprieve. Kasi nga, by the 20th century, yung mga human, tayo is naka-adapt tayo sa ganitong klaseng setup. Naka-create tayo ng iba't ibang klase ng technologies, kagaya na lamang ng greenhouse na tinatawag, which leads to makaproduce tayo or maka-create tayo ng mga resources. See innovations like green revolution and technological advancement postponed Malthus' predicted crisis. And third, modern warnings. So ito na mga na-experience natin ngayon. Contemporary science indicates we are nearing critical environment tipping points which could reduce Earth's carrying capacity. Kasi nga kapag nasira na yung Earth, ma-reduce na yung kanyang carrying capacity. Next po. Ito also, why estimates vary so widely? Bakit dapat in-estimate natin yung human capacity? First is range of estimates. So, ayun nga, from 2 billion na estimate ng Earth, pwede siya umabot up to 40 billion rapidly. Scientifically, projections for Earth's human capacity carrying fluctuate dramatically from 2 billion to over 40 billion people. Second is influencing factors. So these variations are driven by diverse factors. So for example, talagang yung resource consumption habits, yung technological advancement, kaya ito sinabi ko kanina, and economic structure or kung saan nakatira yung mga tao, and cultural priorities. Kung ano yung mga priority ng mga tao, kung saan sila nakatira. For example, dito sa atin and sa Japan and also India, yung one of the most consumed product natin is rice. So, depende rin siya sa demand ng culture or ng tao. Next is consumption's role. If global consumption match a middle-class American lifestyle, so if bawat isa sa atin, kagaya nito, sabi dito, if isa-isa tayo ay kagaya ng buhay ng mga Amerikano na yung mga lifestyle nila is very lavish, so madami silang nang-consume araw-araw, Earth could possibly sustain only 2 billion. But, with minimum consumption, the capacity could be tens of billions, but with a significantly lower quality of life. So, pwede naman natin siyang i-reduce or i-bawasan yung pag-consume natin, pero hindi na same yung quality of life kasi nga, na-apektuhan din ito and na-alter. So, next is the ecological footprint, measuring the human impact. So the ecological footprint quantifies the demand placed on Earth's ecosystem compared to their ability to regenerate and absorb water. Our current overshoot signifies that humanity is consuming natural resources and producing waste at a rate that exceeds Earth's regenerative capacity. This issue is exacerbated by unequal consumption, with developed nations typically maintaining a disproportionately large ecological footprint. So, tinatawag itong ecological footprint na to is yung, in the summary, yung kinukonsume natin is hindi siya agad-agad na na-absorb ng earth or hindi, napupunta siya sa waste product at matagal siya bago ma-resolve at hindi siya napapalitan agad. So, ayan yung isa sa mga kahirapan natin nakaharap ng earth natin as of the moment right now. So, let's go. Ayan, also, human carrying capacity is dynamic and it is not fixed. So, ano yung sabihin nito? First, environmental alterations. So, dito sa environmental alterations, yung mga tao kasi, di ba, kung hindi tayo nakastay or hindi sila nakatira sa isa lang lugar. So, humans constantly modify environment through infrastructures. Ayun nga, from urban area, mag-move sa rural, and magagawa naman ng bagong infrastructures like agriculture and industrial activities, directly affecting carrying capacity. Kaya, isa din siya sa factor kung bakit it is dynamic and it is not fixed. Next, it is also a moving target. So, yung carrying capacity isn't static. It's continuously reshaped by human innovation and evolving behaviors. Anong example nitong human innovation na to? Diba, dati kaya ang way lang ng pagbubuntis or pag-aanak is through natural pag-conceive. Pero through this human innovation, pwede nang gumamit ng IVF and other medical advancements. So, nakakadagdag din siya sa carrying capacity kasi nga, pag dadagdag yung population natin, dadagdag din yung sa carrying capacity ng Earth. And next is technological advancement. As I mentioned, new technologies can be enhanced resource efficiency and production, potentially expanding the carrying capacity. So, if magagamit siya ng tama, pwede ditong ma-expand yung carrying capacity ng Earth. And lastly is societal choices. So, social, economic, and political decisions play a crucial role in shaping sustainability and resource distribution. So, next po. Ayun naman, pathways to sustainability, the 3 paradigms. So, first is what we call the bigger pie. Bigger pie. So, the bigger pie, it focuses on technological innovation to boost resource efficiency and production. Kagaya na lamang ng greenhouse or yun na yung binanggit ko sa first slide. And next is fewer forks. Emphasizes slowing population and growth through education, empowerment, and access to contraception. So, for the fewer forks, ayan, dapat mag-educate tayo ng mga tao na huwag basta-basta lang nagbubuntis or nag-aanak. Dapat is gumagamit tayo ng contraceptions para mas lower yung rate ng pag-produce ng mga offspring dito sa Earth at mas magamit natin ng tama yung mga resources. Next is better manners. It aims to shift consumption habits and cultural values towards greater sustainability. Ayan, yung tama yung paggamit ng mga resources natin para masustain siya. Hindi yung nag-overuse tayo, for example, yung mga ilaw na naka-open, tapos hindi pinapatay sa gabi, which is hindi naman kailangan ito na rin kapag matutulog na. So, pwede siya ipasok sa better manners. So, next po. Ayan. Here are some real-world examples and progress. First is Green Revolution. It significantly increased food production, averting famines, but also introducing new environmental challenges. Second is Circular Economy. So, models promoting reuse, repair, and recycling are gaining traction to minimize waste and resource depletion. So, ayun, kagaya na lang ng reuse, reduce, recycle na tinatawag natin. Isa siya sa mga best examples to para mas magamit yung mga resources natin at konti yung scarcity ng mga resources. Next is renewable energy adoption. Growth in solar, wind, and other clean energy sources is reducing our reliance on fossil fuel. So, saan natin makikita yung mga, yung mga wind energy, di ba meron yan sa lugar nila, mga Marcos, yung malalaking wind farm na ginagamit nila as renewable energy para makaproduce ng energy sa kanilang lugar. Next is empowering women. So, global initiatives focusing on women's education and reproductive rights correlate with lower fertility rates. So, as of now, very applicable tong empowering women kasi nga marami tayong nakikita na nagpo-promote na ng contraceptives and hindi na siya tabu pag-usapan kasi nga open na rin yung mga tao about this idea and dahil dito, mas nalalasan yung fertility rate. Next. So for the conclusion, our collective responsibility. Sabi ni Mahatma Gandhi, the world has enough for everyone's need, but not enough for everyone's greed. So if we stay in our lane, and if we stay na yung sarili natin is hindi greedy, and yung mga inaatand natin is yung needs instead of wants, is ma-prolong yung paggamit ng mga resources and hindi tayo magkakaroon ng shortage. So, Earth's carrying capacity is not merely a scientific calculation, it's a profound call to action. Achieving a sustainable future demands a delicate balance between population size, consumption patterns, and technological innovation. By working together, we can actively shape a livable and prosperous planet for current and future generations. So, it starts with ourselves, kung ano man po yung mga ginagawa natin to maka-help sa pag-promote ng mga ganitong bagay, ng mga pag-conserve ng energy, pag-conserve ng mga resources. Dapat it starts with ourselves at mag-educate tayo ng other people or other mga classmates natin, mga tao, ganun, para ma-spread yung ganitong klaseng word at hindi na mahirapan yung Earth sa carrying capacity. Hello po, thank you.
Hi everyone, my name is Val Divina Gracia and I will be tackling about pollution. So, as what Jeffrey has discussed earlier, due to overpopulation and irresponsible consumers, it results to pollution. So, what is pollution? Pollution is the introduction of harmful substances or energy into the environment. So, it results in negative effects on humans, animals, plants, and ecosystems. So, usually it is caused or it is man-made, but unfortunately it results to harming not only humans but also animals and our nature. Causes of pollution: increasing human population, so as I have said earlier, overpopulation, industrialization and manufacturing, so buildings and factories, transportations, agricultural activities such as uses of fertilizers and pesticides, improper waste disposal, and burning of fossil fuels. So there are different types of pollution. So when we say pollution, often ang naiisip natin is improper waste segregation, plastics, ganyan. But actually there are different types of pollution. So first, air pollution. So this is the type of pollution that is caused by smoke from vehicles, factories, burning of fuels. So this leads to respiratory diseases, climate change, and acid rain. Next type of pollution is water pollution. So this comes from sewage, chemicals, oil spills from factories, and agricultural runoff. So this harms aquatic life and contaminates drinking water. Next is soil pollution. So this comes from waste dumping, chemicals, and excessive farm inputs. So this affects food safety and reduces soil fertility. So syempre yung mga kinakain natin, lalo na yung mga plants, kapag nanggaling yun sa polluted soil, of course it can harm our health. And the next is noise and light pollution. So it comes from urban noises, traffic, construction, bright city lights. So if you're someone na who lives in a shared space tapos maingay ka, so that makes you a pollutant. So this disrupts sleep, wildlife behavior, and communication. So how does it affect human population? First, increased respiratory and cardiovascular diseases, especially if it is caused by air pollution, contaminated food and water supplies, higher healthcare costs, reduced quality of life, and greater vulnerability for children, elderly, and sick individuals since these people are immunocompromised. Effects on ecosystems, loss of biodiversity. So we all know that pollution harms, most commonly harms our nature. So loss of biodiversity, fish kills and destruction of aquatic habitats due to water pollution, soil degradation, disruption of food chains, and habitat fragmentation when polluted areas become unlivable. So solutions. So if there is a problem, there is also a solution or even mitigation. First, proper waste management. This is not new to us. So we have to segregate what's recyclable, what's biodegradable and non-biodegradable. Renewable energy like using solar lights, solar whatever. Sustainable agriculture, pollution control laws and enforcement. So, malaking bagay yung responsibility nito ng mga nasa higher up since they have the power to impose laws and rules to people. Next, reforestation and habitat restoration like tree planting or cleanup drives sa mga coastal areas na polluted. And then public awareness and community participation. Next. So that's all for pollution. So at the end of the day, we all live in one shared space. So let us be more mindful how we live, what we throw, and how our actions affect others. Thank you.
So now let's proceed to habitat and fragmentation. So habitat first, let's tackle what is habitat. So a habitat is a natural environment where organisms survive and reproduce. So the habitat is yung bahay or home ng mga organisms and mga animals such as tayong tao. So it provides essential needs such as food, water, shelter, and space. And it includes both living, biotic, and non-living or yung abiotic components. So we have types of habitat. So we have here 10 types of habitat. So we have deciduous forest, temperate grassland, Mediterranean, tundra, hot desert, tropical rainforest, polar ice, savanna, mountain, and yung coniferous forest. So these habitats, we have here marine and coastal habitats, freshwater habitats such as yung ating rivers, lakes, and wetlands, and then grasslands and savannas, mountains and alpine habitats, and yung urban or modified habitats. So next is, ano nga ba yung importance ng mga habitats or yung tirahan ng mga organism? So first, it supports biodiversity and ecological balance. Second, it allows species interactions such as predation, pollination, especially sa ating mga bees and flowers, and then competition. So third, it regulates climate by storing carbon, especially yung ating mga trees. Next is provides ecosystem services such as yung ating water purification, soil formation. So, next is what is habitat fragmentation. So yung habitat fragmentation is breaking large continuous habitats into smaller isolated patches. So, an example of this is kapag nagtatayo tayo ng kalsada or nagbibuild tayo ng kalsada sa gitna ng bundok, so it is an example of habitat fragmentation because i-divide natin yung isang habitat into two. So this often caused by human activities such as yun nga, yung agriculture, mining, and road construction. And then these create barriers that block animals' movement and migration. So, causes of habitat fragmentation. So, as sinabi ko kanina, we have here yung nahati siya ng isang kalsada. So, this is an example of habitat fragmentation. So, urbanization and infrastructure and expansion such as road construction, buildings, new building, and this leads to deforestation for timber and agricultural land. Mining and industrial development, climate change altering natural landscapes. Since pinuputol natin yung mga puno, So what is the major effect of fragmentation? So first is loss of biodiversity due to limited resources. Since ginadivide natin yung isang habitat into many, so yung biodiversity is nawawala na kasi nagkakahiwalay-hiwalay na yung mga certain organism. And the next is species isolation leading to decreased genetic diversity and increased edge effects such as yung heat, predators, wind, and exposure, and disrupt migration and breeding routes and higher risk of local extinction. So, this is edge effect. So, yung edge of habitats experiencing changing temperature, humidity, and light. So, ito yung isang habitat. So, kapag nagkaroon tayo ng this is yung isang habitat, di ba? So, ito yung this is the edge species. So, ito yung interior habitat, tapos ito naman yung edge habitat. So, yung mga nakatira dyan, yung mga edge species. So, pag hinati natin yan, so yung interior habitat is nag-decrease sila. Kasi nga, nahati, so mas magkakaroon pa ng edge species. Nagkakaroon ng mas maraming edge habitat kesa sa interior habitat, which causes loss of organism na nakatira doon sa interior habitat. So, some species avoid edges and lose suitable habitat, and then predators and invasive species thrives along edges. So, ano yung impact niya sa ating mga humans? So, this decreases natural resources essential for survival. Tapos, nag-i-increase siya ng increases human-wildlife conflicts, example, animals entering farm since yung ginawa nating farm is habitat ng mga organisms or ng mga animals. So, naman siya napasukin ng mga animals. And then, reduces ecosystem services like clean air and water. Since kapag naghati tayo ng isang certain habitat, tinatanggal natin yung mga puno dyan. So, nag-lead yun na yung pag-humidify ng ating air is nababawasan. And then, it increases natural disaster risk such as flooding and landslide. So, ways to reduce fragmentation. So, creating wildlife corridors connecting habitat patches. So, kapag hindi natin maiwasan na magtayo ng mga roads or building, make sure na hindi natin hatiin ng buo yung isang habitat para hindi magkaroon ng mas maraming edge species kesa doon sa mga interior species. So next is implementing sustainable land use and planning, reforestation and conservation programs, limiting urban sprawl, and protecting natural resources. So we have here examples sa Philippines. So we have forest fragmentation sa Sierra Madre and sa Mindanao. Kasi nga medyo dumadami na yung mga tao sa Mindanao. So most of the forest doon is nagiging tahanan na siya ng mga tao imbis ng mga hayop. And then wetland loss in Manila Bay and Lagoon Lake and coral reef degradation due to coastal development. So, ito yung mga example ng habitat fragmentation sa Philippines. Yung lang, thank you.